Greetings, ladies. Have you made an appearance at the gallery? It's quite the scene. Why, yes, I find this composition rather striking. The juxtaposition of life and death intrigues me, but I do believe my sensibilities are too fine to take pleasure in such rabble-rousing. The appeal of MMOs is the social aspect, but at the same time, it can be one of the detractions to it. In any competitive game mode in any online game, you can end up in some salty encounters, but in Guild Wars 2 World vs. World, where the content is so open-ended, the player interactions define the content. There are often server versus server or guild versus guild rivalries, and even just roaming in small groups can get personal. This can manifest in positive ways, such as offering respect and fairness to opponents you wish to fight, or it can be negative, leading to bad manners and ruthlessness. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want because World vs. World is a sandbox type game mode. However, because it is a very social game mode in an MMORPG, your actions will have consequences. Players who behave rudely to their opponents will often get a bad reputation and won't be offered respect in return. Their teammates may also abandon them if given the choice between them and other more valuable or honorable allies. This may seem obvious to many, but if you want respect, you must be the first to give it. Unless you wish to be chased down by a group of vengeful enemies, which some people actually like, it would be best to act honorably. Of course, this is war and anything goes, but you never know which players you will be allied with in the future when your team composition changes. Here are some general tips and situational awareness to help you prevent burning any bridges. One of the largest contributors to negative behavior I see from roamers is a lack of empathy. If you're gonna dish it out, you also need to be able to take it, but generally they don't. They dish it out, and then when there's retaliation from the person they just disrespected, they use that as their excuse to continue doing it. They don't understand that improving the enemy's experience can often improve their experience. Maybe you had a bad day and you aren't in the best mood, but if you go around disrespecting others just because you're in a bad mood, that's a lot of toxicity which can bleed over into other people's moods, perpetuating it further. People who promote toxicity in their game mode not only have little awareness of others, but also of themselves. After all, if you have nobody to fight against, then you will not have fun. Bad manners, often abbreviated as BM, is much more prevalent in online competitive games because the added anonymity allows players to not only detach themselves from consequences, but also empathy. Two things you learn when you grow up. If you have ever been a victim of the unholy ceremony of the teabag, essentially someone celebrating your death in a game by sitting on top of your corpse, you'll know that these situations aren't pretty. Some people just deserve to be BM'd, and some people are just not informed or as socially aware to understand that they're BMing you. That's another thing. It's not always as clear cut as this. Some people like to skirt the line between what is acceptable and what isn't. They may feign ignorance while being fully aware of what they're doing. It's not BM, dude. I'm just cleaning my inventory and your body was right there. Oh, sorry, dude. I wasn't stream sniping you. I was just moving maps coincidentally at the same time as you. These players will lie to look good while also playing to their sinister agenda. Since you can't really argue someone's intent, you should just act like you don't know what they're doing. Better to have them explain themselves first than to assume the worst, or you can escalate a situation unnecessarily. This is also a good trick when an ally behaves questionably. Asking them what they're doing will trigger some self-awareness. There are definitely cultural differences. I know in Australia, people insult friends to show endearment, and in EU there's a lot of rivalries between the countries, but that's one thing. Insulting strangers in a very unironic and very out of character way is inarguably rude. Sometimes BM can be warranted and appropriate, but it depends on the circumstances and how well it's done. Strategically timed and tactful BM can often be funny for both parties, but if you just spam emotes, teabag everyone you kill, or call people tryhards just for playing to win, you're gonna look like you were raised by wolves out in the wild. Manners is about behaving appropriately to show respect. For example, you thank someone who does a service for you. If you go into someone else's home, you take off your shoes, and you cover your mouth when you sneeze in public. These are unwritten rules that you won't get in trouble for, but you will be treated differently if you don't follow them. Scoring kills is always a good feeling when you're the one on the winning side, and nobody likes to die. However, for someone to win, there has to be a loser. Enjoy your victories, but don't enjoy them too much. Remember that many different countries connect to the North American servers, so South America, Australia, and even Eastern Asia. In Japan, it's seen as disrespectful to be too ceremonious with your victory. Funnily enough, the game lets you celebrate very obnoxiously at the end of each PvP match by dancing above the corpses of your enemies. And there are a few finishers in the game like the cow finisher, the llama, the chickenado, and Wump the Giant, which I would consider borderline BM. In PvP, bleeding out enemies or essentially delaying their death after they go down is a strategic move to stagger enemy reinforcements and get value out of capturing objectives while the enemy is powerless. In World vs. World, where you're not that tight on time and your individual actions may not even make a difference to the score, this is unnecessary most of the time. Finishing opponents off can actually be a favor because it allows them to respawn faster and resume playing the game. Obviously, they shouldn't try to give you an advantage in the matchup, but most roamers aren't looking to win their server matchup. It's like holding the door for someone right behind you. You're both trying to get in the door, but you got in first, so have some decency to hold it for another second. You'd want the same for yourself. It helps to have some solidarity between roamers who are humble in their victories, unless of course you want to telegraph to others that you don't get kills very often, and it's a special moment for you. He's coming right towards me, you see that? He blinked too. Any thirsty boys? In general, World vs. Worlders are not intended to chat with each other, which is why you don't get the option to whisper other players by right-clicking on them. Players don't see messages from other servers even if they're on the same map. And you can't see enemy names, just their rank. With the amount of salt permeating from some players, it's a good thing communication isn't immediately available. You are intended to, however, communicate through the standard emotes like beckon, laugh, or cry. You can also direct these emotes at a certain player by using an ampersand or the @ sign. Remember to put the space in between the emote and the ampersand. No one likes a spammer, and you'll just get blocked by your team and theirs if you flood the chat with emotes. So try to simplify your motions into 1 or 2 emotes. There is one way to communicate with other servers through messaging. You can block them and then find them on your block list and then type a message to them or invite them to party and then unblock them before you enter the message. You'll want to have a clean block list to do this, or you may struggle to find them. Also, if you find yourself block whispering often, you may need to relax. Even if you're whispering them words of encouragement like good fight, it can sting if you only tell them good fight when you win them. It's sort of like saying, when I win it's all skill, but when I lose, it's out of my hands. General etiquette is for the loser to say good fight first. Otherwise, saying nothing is respectful enough. If you do want to show respect to the enemy but don't want to be misinterpreted as an instigator, you can just do a /bow emote. Also, being the first to engage in a block whisper when you're using insults just makes you look like you're desperate to cope. However, if you must really communicate, such as trying to organize some structured duels or asking them to duo in PvP, you absolutely should use the block whisper technique to get in contact with them. Just remember to unblock. There are also certain spots that roamers designate as dueling areas. Here, players will engage in a fight until someone goes down and then let the other player revive to fight them again. Usually this is around the southern camp on the Alpine borderlands, or on Eternal Battlegrounds. Duelers usually fight around Stone Mist Castle but away from the main pathways. If you're looking for other roamers to fight, you can check these spots. Generally, you should avoid attacking players who are dueling because you break the unspoken contract. One way to discern between duelers and people just fighting to kill is that they'll bow before dueling, stay within bounds, be in those designated dueling spots, and let each other res. If you interrupt a duel, you are violating the sanctity of their duel and all of the etiquette and respect they are sharing. You may not care about any of that, but you have to understand that by disrupting their game mode, they'll disrupt yours. There's a phenomenon called the social contract, which suggests an implied agreement between people. You respect me, and I respect you. If everyone respects each other, we all benefit. But if some try to break it to get selfish advantages, they ruin the system and promote other people breaking the contract, which ends up in everyone losing out. The social contract is based on those two main ideas I talked about earlier: empathy and awareness of consequences. That is really it. If you accept that people want to play the game how they want to play it, respect that and allow them to do it, or communicate that you disagree with how they play, and then part ways if you can't come to an agreement, like reasoning adults would, then that should be good enough. Anyways, that is all for now. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what other behaviors skirt the line between respect and disrespect. And maybe I have been wrong this entire time, and throwing siege on someone is just a cultural greeting. Also, consider becoming a patron. For as little as $3 a month, you can support my content. Thanks to those who have contributed already, and to all of you, I'll see you next time.